Hi guys, I wanted to take some time to tell you guys about this house that we live in currently. It's 100 years old at least, and this is going to be a big part of the content here. So I wanted to finally get a video out about it and tell you a little bit about the story behind how we got in this house and the work that needs to be done and projects and where we're going to go in the future, kind of. So, we originally bought a brand new house. I think it was built in 2017, and we had a mortgage on it, and we were putting a little bit more on the credit cards each time, and kind of just slowly sinking in that house. And my wife has a 9 to 5 job that she's making constant money, but I do tile for a living, and oftentimes I'm just relying on references. I don't usually actively seek work, and we also kind of like it that way because we don't use a babysitter for our son, and we like to have time with him. So like one of us is usually always with our son. So but we were slowly sinking, and I never wanted to have a mortgage before we ever bought that house. I had it in my head that we were gonna save up the money and buy a house, which is crazy. But if you're out there and you think you can do it, I think you should. It is gonna be one of the best decisions you will ever make in your whole life, and I know I didn't do it, but I guarantee it. In some cultures, the kids do not leave the kids, right? The kids don't leave their parents' houses until they can buy their own house, and uh, there's just nothing about it that's not going to make you better off. It and everything that is like a big prize in life comes with a huge struggle. But let me get back to the story. So we were living in that house, and it was pretty nice. We had an acre. That was my favorite part of it. The house was all right, but I think I'm in the building trade, and I think it could have been built better. But we had an acre that's what I loved about it. Now, since we were slowly sinking in that house and accruing more debt on like the credit cards besides just the mortgage, which was like 14 to 1500 somewhere in there every month, um, I decided that I was going to start looking at other houses. And my wife was not really on board. I mean, you know, she liked her house, right? And but I just started looking at other houses, and I was able to get her to come take a look at other houses with us. Now, in the meantime, while we were living in this house before we sold it, and it was only about a year that we lived in this house, um, maybe a little longer, the equity on this house had just shot through the roof. We live in Colorado, and we got in it at like what, 2016, 2017, and the trend has just been upward on house prices right from when we bought it. Not to mention that the builder did have a great price on these houses, so we probably got the house cheaper than you could get from most builders, and then the trend in housing prices was just continually going up. So after a year, we had $100,000 in equity on this house. Now, we didn't have that. We still owed the bank what we owed the bank with the same interest rate for the next 30 years, $1,500 a month. But we could tap into that by selling the house, right? So I started looking at houses, and I was able to get my wife to come start looking at houses with us. And we're in Colorado. We went to, we looked at, I was looking at houses that I could buy for $100,000. And so, uh, you know, everything needs work at that price. And in Colorado, I don't even know if you can find that house today. But we went all around. I mean, we went out towards Colorado Springs, and we were looking at like almost completely dilapidated houses near Denver and Aurora, and so yeah, we were all over the place. But we ended up finding this house, which was just another couple miles down the road from where our other town was. And this house was listed, I believe, at 125, 125,000 or 120,000. But we talked to the neighbors, and also my wife got online and she found some records of this, and it was connected to the house next door. And basically, the woman that owned this house had passed away, and the gentleman that bought this house had bought this house and that house over there for, I think the record said something like 65, and the neighbor kind of confirmed that that was around where he got both these houses for, which he's the real all-star. But anyways, he took them and he subdivided them, and then he sold this house, and he was living in that other house, but he eventually sold that too. So when we came and saw this house, then we got that information, and we found out that he owned both of these for around 70, right? Somewhere in there. And we had already made an offer on another house and we made it, so we went and saw that house, and then we told the realtor that we were gonna go basically eat and talk about it, and we went into the town where that house was, and we ate lunch, and then we decided we were gonna put in an offer, and I called, and the realtor didn't pick up, and then, a couple hours later told me that she had immediately sold it to these other people who had looked at the house beforehand. And I told her that I was gonna call her and at least tell her no, or either make an offer or tell her no, we're not interested. But she didn't. She decided not to wait for us. And I'm a big believer in things happening for a reason, and I think that happened for a reason. I don't think that was the house for us. So anyways, we lost that house. So when we saw this one, we talked while we were here with the realtor, and my wife, when she saw this house, she said that she thought this was a really cute house and she liked it, and she basically said that she would like to put in an offer, and we made an offer there. We made an offer there pretty much on the spot. I think I offered 80, and then later on, the realtor called us back, and I don't know if I offered 80 or 85, but she called us back and she said 90 or 95 was the counter offer, and that she suggested that I take it because she did not think that the gentleman was going to move anymore. And then if it was 90, I offered 85, and if it was 95, I offered 90. So I countered anyways, and she called me back and said that she was surprised, but he took it. And so from there, we took. Let me think and have a sip of my coffee. So from there, we started getting into our, inspections and everything. And we had an inspection, and, this is a 100-year-old house at least, and there was some stuff wrong with it. Let's see, one of the things was that the furnace. So in my inspection objection, the furnace was really old, and this guy already had to put in a septic tank. So I have a new septic tank, and he had to do that because you have to clear a right of use or something for your septic tank before you can sell a house. And then, but the furnace was old, and the inspector told us that the furnace was very old. And so I put in the inspection objection that the furnace either needed to be replaced or certified when they got it working. Well, the company came out to get it working, and I believe they were able to get it working, but they would not certify it for the owner. So he had to put in a furnace for us. And let's see, was that it? There was something else. Oh yeah, there was like a whole another like little list of things that needed done, and I told him that he could do these things and we'd stay at the price where we were at, or he could give us $5,000 off, sell us the house, and we deal with all those things, which is the what he chose. So I think we ended up. I think it was 95. I got him down to 90, and then 5,000 off of that for the inspection objection items that he didn't want to do that we were going to take care of. So I think we ended up at 85,000 on this. Now, from there, we got the house, and I had a structural engineer come in before we moved in and tell me whether or not the house was livable. He asked me if I wanted it brought up to code, and I said no, I do not want it brought up to code. I just want to make sure my family's safe, right? So now we're out of the old house. We had $100K in equity, which we had to pay realtor fees and everything. We actually ended up not getting this house within our equity. So I owe my mom some money. She helped us out. Thank you, Mom. Couldn't do anything in my life without her. And yeah, so we still owe her some money. We're working on that. But we got this house, okay? And now comes the projects, right? Because now you live in a 100-year-old house. So that's kind of where I wanted to tell you all that, because that's a big part of who I am. Like, I never wanted debt. Okay, I'm happy to do projects and spend my money that I make on doing these projects. If you think about it, if I put $1,500 in a project on this house, that's one payment on the old house, right? One payment, and half of that payment was going towards interest for the first half of the loan or whatnot. So yeah, I mean, if you've never done it, go online and find an interest calculator and find out how much a $200,000 house costs you after you pay the bank the interest and the loan. And then find out, $300,000 house, $400,000 house. I think something like a $400,000 house, you're going to end up paying the bank $750 or something like that. $700. So it's just, this is the biggest purchase of your life. I can't believe sometimes what people will do to have a house and how much they will pay to maybe show out, right? But anyways, we got this house, and then we got a ton of projects. So let's talk about that now. That's what I wanted to talk about with this video. So I have a lot of videos that aren't up yet, okay? And they show a lot of the work that's already been done here, and they need edited and they need uploaded, and it's gonna be a lot of work. One of the reasons that I'm shooting this video rough cut is because if I upload directly from my phone the video that I'm shooting, it uploads 10-20 times faster than if I edit a video and have to use the internet that we have here at this house. And my phone has, I have a plan, and my phone uploads the same video in literally 10 times faster, 20 times faster. So this video may be a little rough, but I can actually get it uploaded, right? So let's go, and I'll show you a little bit about the projects that are going on currently and that will hopefully be done in the next year. Okay, so first thing you're gonna see is this is my living room. This is OSB 3/4 inch, I believe. Now, when we got here, this was carpet. I tore up so the structural engineer, when he was here, he noticed that under Basically, it's right under here. This is a load-bearing wall that goes up to the second floor, and this is balloon construction. If look up balloon framing construction on Google or whatever, and you'll see what kind of framing this house has. But basically, this is right where the beam is for the upstairs, and it is not a beam. It is a 2x6 that is set on its side, or maybe a 2x8, set on its side and not vertical. So it is just not a proper beam. It is also sitting on the dirt. So yeah. And anyways, had carpet here. I tore up carpet. Then I tore up what is this over here? Particle board. So this was under the carpet. And then I believe under the particle board was the original wood floors for the house, and I had to tear those up. So I thought I was done after like the first 2 layers, and then I had another layer, and you can kind of see this is the original that was in here that has been torn up. So now I have this down, and it's temporary. You'll see I just have a couple screws in it in each piece, and that holds this floor down. And whenever I have the time, I come in here and I tear these up and I work on the foundation. Now, what I'm going to have to do under this floor is I am going to actually sister every joist all the way through here. So I'm going to sister all the joists. They're 2x6s on a 12-foot, which is probably the max that they can withstand, if that. And then I am replacing this beam all the way through here, all the way into my son's room back there, and across the whole house, okay? Now, currently I've been digging it out because there's not really enough room down there to even work. So the good thing is that I did it from up here, and I can tear out from the top. So I've been doing all my digging, hammer drilling, bucket moving, dirt moving from the top. Which, imagine if I was doing all that crawling around in the crawl space, right? So, let's go out here real quick and I'll show you. Gonna have to block you guys because my house is really dirty, okay? I'm actually gonna clean it when I start uploading this video. Okay, so we come out here and I just want to show you. You may have seen these in another video. The net's out here because my son was playing around. But all that dirt has come out of that floor. And it's going to be probably double or triple or quadruple that. A lot of this is the old boards. But I'm going to use those for something else that I'm going to need to do. I'll tell you in a second. And then that pile came out of the floor. Now, that all came out of here, okay? All of that came out from, well, actually, it really only came out from here over to there. And then let's talk about some other things that go on with this, with having projects like this. So there's our bed, and it's in the living room. So when my wife goes to sleep, I have to either go to sleep or be quiet. So I have to get out of the living room. And this is not a huge house, so I improvise. This is definitely a sacrifice, right? But we own it. So then there's this door. This is the next thing. So under here, joists, and then this beam. Sister, all the joists in this beam. Over here, this is the outside joist, okay? You're not going to be able to see in there right now, but that joist is completely eaten out, probably from water, and I'm going to have to basically redo the seal on the outside of the house. Okay, not to mention that it's winter, and this is costing me a lot of propane. Because keeping the house warm when you have holes in your floor that are letting cold air in costs a lot of money. So then this is usually blocked off right now because I'll bring you up here. I've already done a lot of work up here too, which you will see. Okay, so this is the upstairs. There's where we came up, and there's the table that's usually blocking this door to keep my son from, exploring up here. Now, up here, you can see I've done a lot of work already. I actually did this before the structural engineer came in here. Because if you come right here where I'm standing, on the middle of this floor, or right over there on the middle of that floor, and you bounce up and down, my whole ceiling downstairs is going to shake. And that is because these are 2x6s spanning 14 feet on a 2-foot center. And that would not be how that would be built today. So what's going to happen up here, first I'm going to finish the basement. I want the beam. The beam downstairs supports this wall that comes up, okay? Right there. That whole part of the house from here down to the basement where we were in the living room, where that beam is under us, all sinking, okay? Now in here, I'm going to come in here after I finish down there. I need that beam in because I'm going to add a lot of weight up here. So that beam needs to be done before I start adding a bunch of weight up here. Each one of these joists up here on the 2-foot centers, so this guy here, that guy there, are going to get sistered with LVLs. And that is going to take care of the bounce problems as well as stabilize this second floor. And, it's just really going to solidify this house. Now, when this gets all done, my wife gets her bedroom. So this is all very important because she's probably made the biggest sacrifice in all this. Because for me, I could care less that this is like this, okay? But she had a brand new house, and now she has to live in this in sacrifice. And I thank her for doing so. I'm actually getting a little emotional right now, realizing how much I've put her through. But she's awesome, and she's along for the ride, and I know that she's happy not to have any debt as well, besides what we owe my mom. So, let's talk about some more. So the electrical in this house, none of it's grounded. So eventually all the electrical will get done. And it's probably it might have to get done in stages. Because like when this room is ready and I'm ready to put LVLs in here, it might be time to it's gonna be time for me to either figure it out myself or call the electricians. And I'm probably gonna call electricians on this. This is one thing I'll pay for. And I'm gonna have them come in here and rerun electrical wire. Now, I don't know that I'm gonna have them plug it in or hook it up yet, but they're gonna come in here and run it for me, okay? So again, 2x6s, at least these ones are vertical, on 2-foot centers spanning 14 feet. And that is it's just not okay. I can kind of show you the balloon framing in here. Okay, so if you look there, you see that 2x4 that's vertical right there? So these joists for the second floor are just nailed into the side of that. There is no 2x4 that goes horizontal between the two floors. Those 2x4s go from the bottom of the foundation of the house all the way up to the roof line. That's balloon framing. No horizontal boards coming across making basically separating the two floors and starting the next section of framing, all right? As you can see here, come on. Sorry, guys. It's terrible. It doesn't want to. I'm going to have to do it again. Well, that's great. Okay, so we'll just keep moving and hopefully my focus will readjust. Oh, there we go. Of course, I'm trying to make this video without editing, and then that happens. So anyways, this is a huge project, right? Got to get the basement done first, get that beam in under the house, sister those joists, and I probably won't even put a subfloor on that before I come up here. As soon as I get that beam under the house, I think this is going to be my primary concern, because giving my wife a room is going to make her happy, me happy, give us room. Just so many benefits when this room gets done. This is actually more important than the basement to me, but it has to have a proper beam under it so that when I add an LVL on every single one of these joists, it can withstand all that weight, and I'm ready to move forward from there. And then I'll have the electrical ran, and then I will put in a subfloor, and this room will start kind of coming together, okay? So I think that's going to be it for this video, mainly because it's already so long. There's a ton of other projects that need to happen in this house, but that's kind of like this summer, 2021, this is going on. Now, mind you, this is all going on while we raise baby chicks, we have chickens outside, we're trying to garden, we're in Shed Wars 21. You know, if I don't kill it growing food, it's because I got other stuff going on, but we're going to try our best, and it is going to be fun. But that just kind of gives you an idea of where we're at here and what's going on with this house. We actually have a picture of this house, and maybe I can put it in the thumbnail for this. I don't know. It's not really zoomed in. It may not be a good thumbnail. But we actually have a picture of this house when it was being moved here, which is what makes us believe that this house is older than 100 years old. Because when it was being moved here, we believe that was basically 1920. And so if it was being moved to this location in 1920, then how old is it? So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you right now, but I think that's pretty good. As you can see, I got my work cut out for me. I did get a bid on that basement for digging out the crawl space and putting in a beam under there. And the bid came back at like $20,000. So that's why basically when I got that bid, I kicked it into high gear and started working on this. I might actually get a week to work on this coming up right now because my son's on spring break, so maybe the wife and the son, my wife and my son can go over to grandma's, and I can get back in here and start getting some more work done. I basically have all this area dug out, and right now what I need to do under here is in here I need to put in a temporary beam so that I can now start digging in the dirt under here, under the existing beam, and start getting some footings dug, okay, for that beam. Another thing that's going to happen is, so I need that temporary put in there, and then I can start digging under here for the footings for that beam. And then another thing that's going to happen when that beam work gets done is I'm actually going to put another a beam in here to just sturdy up the floor, stop it from the bouncing and everything. And that's going to go in the middle of this living room under the joists. So sistering of the joists, beam, and then kind of a secondary beam that's going to help with any of the bounce. So this has been a very long video. I apologize if it's too long, but I really wanted to give you guys a look at the projects that need to be done coming forward on this house, as well as, you know, what I've gotten myself into. and you know, it's all worth it. My wife, one more thing we'll talk about is one more thing we'll talk about real quick is my wife actually started a new business besides the job that she already has in this house, and it would have never been started in the other house because we didn't have the money to do so. Now, I know you're saying you guys have debt. How did you start a business? Well, thank God the debt is with my mom, right? So while I wish that debt was already paid off, this business that my wife started is going to be good for us, and my mom is going to be paid off. I don't want to say this because probably haven't, but I have almost always paid off all my debts to my mom. So unless, you know, maybe she's given it to me and I should have paid it off, but she gave it to me or whatnot. But the business that my wife started in this house, it's a good business. She really likes it, and it never would have been started at the other house. The burden of that $1,500 payment being lifted off of our shoulders has enabled her to start a business that is gonna be a lucrative business that she never would have been able to start under that mortgage, because the weight of that mortgage would have held us down. So it's interesting how getting out of a situation like that opens up avenues for you to be able to do what you want to do. I'm still doing tile, and I'm working actually probably harder than I ever have doing tile. But I'm